friends, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to come on here today and give you a quick update on the Run Write Reads Summer Reading Challenge, at least as it relates to my participation, and invite you in the comments to let me know how you're doing with the reading challenge. So if you're new to hearing about the Run Write Reads Summer Reading Challenge, this is the tracker. There are 14 prompts and shameless self-promotion. The prompts, the initials of the prompts correspond to the letters in Run Write Reads, because it's the Run Write Reads Summer Reading Challenge in more than one way. So I finished 3 prompts. Week 3, I finished 3 prompts. The challenge goes from June 21st to September 23rd, every single day of summer. And so the goal is to read a book to meet each of these 14 prompts. You can double up on the prompts. If you find a book that meets more than one challenge, then you can definitely do that. If you don't feel like you want to or can read 14 books in the time period. But me, I'm trying to read a book for each prompt, so I have finished 3 of the prompts and I'll tell you briefly about each one. So the first prompt on here, and this is in black and white because I have a black and white printer. So you can see what the tracker looks like in color, and feel free to download the tracker and keep track of your reading, keep track of your progress. And first prompt is to reread a book, any book that you choose. And I reread Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver because I read it just a couple of months ago, but I read it fast and I wanted to reread it because there's so much to grasp, there's so much to enjoy in this book. So Barbara Kingsolver did a retelling of Charles Dickens's David Copperfield. So in this book, the main character is a young boy named Damon Fields, but he is called Demon Copperhead, and you have to read the book in order to figure out why. The cover presents some of the elements that are discussed in the book, and so I still haven't read David Copperfield. I had intended to read that before I reread this book, but didn't get to that. That's fine, that's fine. This is a book that you can enjoy on its own, whether or not you're familiar with the David Copperfield story, because this one is set in the United States, in Virginia, in the Appalachian region, during the late 1990s, early 2000s, at the beginning of the prescription drug epidemic. And so we see characters in here who are lured into drugs, people who become addicts, and what it means for them, what it means for their families. We see a little bit of the fallout for Damon because he loses parents. I don't want to get into the details of how he loses his parents, but he becomes embroiled in the foster care game. And so we see him as a pawn in this foster care system, how he is taken advantage of in lots of ways, but also how he tries to make his own destiny. This book also includes a lot of visual representation, visual art representation being described. With words being described literally, and I love that. I love reading books that describe visual art. And so Damon, I won't call him this, Damon is talented, he is gifted as an artist, and we see how he uses that, how it becomes his escape, how it becomes his way of expressing his experiences, tying together his reality with his fantasy, and how he uses that as a way to escape from his life. Love, love, love this book. So I wanted to reread it, and I did. I buddy read it, and I highly recommend that as an experience because this book has a lot. It has a lot of elements. It has a lot of things that you'll want to discuss, more than just like a 2-sentence conversation that you'll have with someone after you've read the book and say, yeah, I like that, here's what I liked about it. I feel like as you're reading this book, you'll want to pause and just discuss the elements with someone else who is reading and having a lot of the same experiences and reactions that you're reading and having. So Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver won the Pulitzer Prize this year, and I can completely see why. It was fantastic and a really, really well executed representation of a time and place. So love that. So I finished the reread prompt on the Run Write Reads challenge by reading that book. Now I could have reread any book. I chose to read a 550-page book as a reread, but that's fine. That's fine. This is a challenge after all. So then I read the I read a book for the prompt easy. So the easy prompt is all the way down here. It is to read a book you consider easy, and this could be any page count. So generally the page count for books that qualify for the Run Write Reads Summer Reading Challenge, like they're really rules. Yeah, so generally the books should be 150 pages or more. For that prompt and one other, you could read any page count. So if you consider children's picture books to be easy, any children's picture book, any page length would be fine. I read Charlotte's Web by E.B. White, which is 184 pages. But this is a book that I wanted to read, and I saw it one day. I was in the children's library with my daughter, and I saw it, and I said, I should really get this copy and bring it home, because I like when I find books that are pretty new. And you know, this sometimes the children's books that you find in the library, they're well worn. This was in fairly new condition. I picked it up and I loved it. So it's 184 pages, but not really, because the book is small, and then there are illustrations all over the book. So I love this. It is a story about a pig named Wilbur and his friend Charlotte, and we see their interaction on this farm, a little bit of what Wilbur faces. So the word that is used to describe Wilbur when he's born is that he's a runt, means that he's small and the world doesn't have great expectations for him. And we see how a life can be changed because someone else sees something, someone else sees potential, someone else sees hope, and they kind of pass on that value to the person. So there's a lot of opportunity for thematic study in this story. It can be read on the surface, of course, for a child, but for an adult, you could really get into this book and enjoy it because it studies the world in really intense ways. We see a little bit of the relationship between humans and animals, but also we see the relationship between animals of various species and how they learn to cooperate, how they learn to change each other's lives because of being who they uniquely are. So really enjoyed this. Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. This is my first time reading anything by this author, and I definitely want to read the other books now. Is this the author that brought us Stuart Little? I think Stuart Little and The Trumpet of the Swan. So definitely going to check out more books from this author. So yeah, so that was my book for the easy prompt. And then the next book that I read was for the red, white, and blue prompt, which is to read a book that has 2 or 3 of the United States flag colors on the cover. And so I chose Michael Connelly's The Black Echo, because Michael Connelly is quite like the quintessential American guy author. He writes investigative journalism, crime kind of books. So he wrote The Lincoln Lawyer, and I think that series, is there a series? Yeah, the Lincoln Lawyer series, and then the Harry Bosch series. The Black Echo is the beginning of that series. So we're reading about Harry Bosch, who is a LAPD, Los Angeles Police Department detective, and in this book he is investigating a crime, and there are ties to FBI open case. So he's working with the FBI in this one. And it's a lot about the investigation. We read about the police detective kind of process and the collaboration between FBI and police, that kind of process, and a little bit about the relationships between the people. Harry Bosch was a Vietnam veteran, and the investigation that he's working on in this book also includes the Vietnam vet. So there's discussion about procedure in Vietnam and a little bit of the corruption that happened in the war. Like, there's always corruption in war, right? So I really enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would. It's not as scary as I expected it to be, but I did read it really fast because I needed to know how it's going to finish. It's one of those books that you almost want to read before you go to bed. Not necessarily because it's completely scary, just I'm a big scaredy cat, and with suspense kind of books, I want to know how they work out so I can sleep peacefully. And because I'm always trying to figure out how the puzzle is solved before I go to sleep. And so I finished this for the red, white, and blue, red and white category. Those are the first 3 books that I finished for the Run Write Reads Summer Reading Challenge. But segue from puzzles into the book that I am currently reading, which is The Puzzler by A.J. Jacobs, and I'm in love with this book. I started reading it, finished introduction and chapter 1, and I'm loving it. I'm buddy reading this with Patrice Jones, and we both really love puzzles, so this is going to be a fantastic read. Again, like I said, love solving puzzles along with the characters, trying to challenge myself to see if I can solve the puzzle, solve the mystery before the main character does. In this one, we are solving puzzles alongside the author. This is not a novel. This is, A.J. Jacobs is known for challenging himself. He wrote this book about his experience reading the entire encyclopedia series. He wrote another book about living literally taking the words from the Bible and how he lived them out in a year. And so this one is about his experience with puzzles. So really, really loving this, and it has puzzles inside. So, oh joy. This one will definitely meet the prompt of new read a book that was published last year or this year. I think that's it. So yeah, those are the books that I have been reading and I'm currently reading, alongside all the other books that I need to read for the BookTube Prize and all the other things that I need. But we're not going to focus on that. We're just going to invite you in the comments down below. Let me know how you're doing with the challenge, what books you've been reading, what you've been enjoying lately. And until we come back for another video, happy reading. Bye.